Idaho libraries have been getting a lot of attention the last several years because of the books they have stacked on their shelves. The Gem State, just one of the hot spots for the culture wars over, quote, obscenity supposedly available to children because of books in the children's section. Most of which had to do with LGBTQ plus themes, by the way. Last legislative session, Idaho put the harmful materials bill into practice after 3 years of trying. Meaning if someone complained about an inappropriate book being in the children's section or young adult section of a library, that library had 60 days to review it and determine if that book should be reshelved in another part of the library. If that library board decided to keep it where it is, well, they could be sued for $250 plus damages. Well, Eagle Library just reviewed its first wave of books submitted for reconsideration, 25 of them, in fact. Aspen Shumpert stopped by the library to find out how the board came to the conclusion to move all of them.
The Eagle Library has received considerations for 25 books to be relocated. Mary DeWalt, who sits on the Idaho Library Association, says that's the highest number in the state.
That's our understanding, is they are the one with the most.
Last month, in a closed conversation, the Eagle Library Board discussed those books.
How often is it checked out? Is this something that's really popular, or is this something that is very obscure? It's hidden somewhere and nobody ever sees it. And then also book reviews. You know, some of the mainstream reviewers, what did they say about that?
Only 4 of the complaint documents gave examples and reasons for relocation. The others just listed the book titles.
I did appreciate the ones where they explicitly wrote out, this is why I think the book should be moved.
The board ultimately voted to move 22 books to the adult section of the library.
One that kept coming up was a series of young adult fantasy books by Sarah Moss, which are exceedingly popular. They're high circulation out of this library. Reading some of the excerpts, they did have, pretty explicit, graphic situations. 3
books were taken off the shelf and put behind the counter. Visitors now need to ask to check those books out.
They left kind of a dummy there, a dummy book, empty book, kind of like they do with games and CDs and DVDs sometimes.
DeWalt says she has some concerns about transparency, like, for example, who exactly submitted complaints. Allman says the Eagle City attorney decided to redact them.
There is an important element, for example, of perhaps if you're going to redact some of the information, at least leave one piece, like maybe a first name, so that someone who's examining the records can tell whether a particular item was challenged by one person or 5 different people.
21 complaints were submitted just in one day.
Well, I can't specifically speak to the people who made the specific complaints, but I would guess if there was a lot of them on one day that it's likely that there are members of the community who were watching for when the law went into effect.
Allman says the city attorney also decided to have the closed-door meeting.
There are any kind of business conducted by the board generally does need to be conducted in a public forum. And there is one exception for potential litigation if the library or entity is about to be sued or has the potential.
Like if the library doesn't remove books within 60 days of receiving a complaint, which was the case for 4 of the books submitted.
Was there reason why those weren't evaluated before those 60 days were up?
Typically we have meetings on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. And it was just the timing of things. We ended up missing one meeting. There wasn't a quorum because various members had personal issues they had to take care of. So we decided to just handle them all at the following meeting. Hopefully whichever person submitted those will give us some grace there.
Allman says another aspect the board is looking into is tiered library cards that parents can enroll their child in, which would limit what they can check out per decision of the parent. The board is hoping to have a proposal of that idea in front of them on next board meeting.
It's interesting that Brian Allman was appointed to the Eagle Library Board on the condition that he wanted to, quote, clean up the library. And he said that the LGBTQ books, he says they're normalizing their lifestyles and fetishes. That's what he was quoted as saying going into that. So I guess they're doing their thing.
They are.
All right. Thank you very much, Aspen.